Hello, juicers. This is Edward coming to you again with a video. This video is unlike any other video that I've done. It's a family issue that I thought would be very beneficial for everybody to hear. Uh, my family probably wouldn't like this video or respect why I'm doing this video, but I felt like it was a video that I had to do because it was a part of my experience and it's a part of growth for everybody. It's beneficial for everybody here. There are consequences that comes behind allowing your kids to witness domestic abuse. We think it's just us, but actually the kids are very impacted by domestic abuse. And my cousin, Robert Atlas, if you Google Robert Atlas, you will come up with a number of stories about this case. Fatal Attraction, the movie on TV One, or yeah, I think it's TV One, did the Fatal Attraction video of my cousin Robert Atlas, and he killed his unborn child and the mother of the unborn child. And the stories I've been hearing yield him in a light that is unbecoming, that seems that he did this like out of a vacuum and it just happened in a vacuum. And that's not the case. Because I know my cousin, I love my cousin, and my cousin was a victim more so than he was a perpetrator. It just escalated to a point where his emotions that built up around his mom, you know, he was a victim of domestic violence, and these are the effects that happens to kids. This is how the cycle perpetuates itself. It's just like he sat there and watched his mom be a victim of domestic violence, and boys want to protect their moms, and he was not able to protect his mom. So I did the story against my family's wishes, not to shine us in a bad light, but to give some understanding to why it is this situation escalated to the point it did. It's Robert Atlas Jr. His father was my cousin, Robert Atlas Sr., and his mother was Brenda Atlas, my second cousin. My mother and his mother were first cousins and shared the same grandparents. And his grandmother is my mother's father's sister. So that's how we related. His grandmother and my grandfather were brothers and sisters, and we shared the same great grandparents. And it's a sad story, and it's something that I never would imagine would have happened. But I'm gonna tell it today. So before we begin, we're gonna read from our 199 Promises of God. And we're just going to read the next one that comes up. Sing unto the Lord, praise ye the Lord, for he hath delivered the soul of the poor from the hand of the evildoers. Jeremiah 20:13. That is very potent in my soul because we think we're losing when we sit back and watch the evildoers advance, and get things that we want and we think we need, and that we should have, But I don't want it if God doesn't bless me with it. I don't want it because it's not going to last long. It's only temporary, and it's not going to have any significance in my life if God doesn't bless me with it. So that particular scripture just rang true to me. I'm satisfied. You got to be satisfied with what God bless you with, or it questions whether you are worthy of the things that He do benefit you with. He does bless you with. So yes, that's a good scripture, to start this whole thing off. We all were very close knit family that grew up in west suburbs of Chicago. And all the cousins, the adult cousins, raised their kids together. And me being one of them, and I'm like his oldest cousin, his second oldest cousin, Robert Atlas, um, who's at the root of this story. It's a very sad story, people. So get ready for it. They made a fatal attraction episode from this case with Robert Atlas. If you Google Robert Atlas, they will give you the details of the whole story. Just Google Robert Atlas. Altas. Altas. Robert. And you will get all the details of the story. It's a big national story that happens where Robert, just to give you a nutshell and to make this episode move quickly, he had got his girlfriend pregnant, and she was like 8 months pregnant. And she had a problem with Robert going out on the town while she was pregnant. Okay, I'm pregnant, and you should be here at home with me, and opposed to out in the street. Reasonable. Um, One particular night, she had been locking him out the apartment when he goes out. And this particular night, she went out with her girlfriends, he went out with his friends, and he was at a bar, she was at a restaurant, and she decided to stop at the bar where he was and said he was. And she located him at this particular bar after she, was with her friends. And she accosted him, and they had began to argue about him being out amongst friends while she's pregnant, and I gotta stay at home. Why should you get to roam the streets? And they got to arguing in this club or in this bar, and I guess she alluded to the fact that she was gonna lock him out of the house, and that's what she had been doing, and he just been going along with the plan. Apparently, he told his friend that he was with that tonight, if she locked me out of the house, it's going to be a problem. Unbeknownst to the friend, it was a real problem. So instead of him going over his sister's house, my cousin Felicia Atlas, he went home. And the door was locked. And she didn't open the door. He kicked the door in. And she must have ran into the bathroom because he kicked that door in off the hinges. She had a knife. He took the knife from her and he stabbed her repeatedly, upwards of 100 times, killing her and her unborn child. He escaped from the scene and went on the run, and he was caught in Shreveport. And that's where the story ends, and the trial and the consequences began. He was charged with first-degree murder, and he was convicted of the crime, and he received life without parole. But the stories that have been yielding out of this this particular story has been one-sided. It's like he just arrived at this person out of a vacuum. Like nothing contribute to the fact that he's this person. But these are the consequences of allowing a child to be exposed to domestic violence. My cousin Brenda was a victim of domestic violence. Her husband was a black belt in karate, and he used it on her regularly. As a child, I knew I was one of the older. Me and my brother are the oldest out of all the cousins. So we were abreast of what was going on in the family, and we were told on numerous occasions how she was beaten by Robert Atlas' father. Robert Atlas Sr. beat her beyond recognition sometimes. And it was sad, but it was something that we couldn't do nothing about because she always, you know, wanted to stay in the relationship. It wasn't something, back in those days, it wasn't as big of a deal that it is today. You know, the police, family members, friends, neighbors always took it as something between two people. They didn't take it as serious as we do today. Robert Atlas had to sit back on numerous occasions and see his mom being beat. And this is the yielding consequences of domestic abuse. My cousin wanted to protect his mom, but he wasn't in a position to do so because he was a baby. He had three sisters and he was the youngest boy. So it was four of them and he was the youngest. What was he going to do with his dad? You know, and him being in relationships, it shows up. PTSD, all that arguing and fighting and violence just took a toll on him. I'm not giving him an excuse by no means, but what I am doing is trying to shed a better light on the situation so that people don't think he just this evil person that just showed up like a thief in the night. It's that he was exposed to things that was behind his control. And these are things that he held in, that he utilized in his relationships. So we have to think about, what is it telling our kids when we endure domestic violence? What are we saying? Are we saying this is right? If it's happening to kids and they witness, then they're going to take it as right. They're not going to see no wrong in it because that's all they know. When you raised up in this situation. So I don't want people to think that he just this evil person that just, this is what he wanted to do and this is how he ended up. It's not the case. He was a victim of domestic violence, as well as his sisters, who are doing very well, may I add. In the Fatal Attraction episode, my oldest cousin, Zanetta, she's like the third eldest. I'm the second, and my brother's the first, and she's like the third of all the cousins. And her name is Pastor Zanetta Atlas, his sister, his oldest sister. And she was on the Fatal Attraction episode, and she tried to yield a better light about this. And this is the first story I want to do on true crime because these are the effects and consequences that we have to live with when we allow these type of atrocities in our community. There are people that are affected by the reality of the situation. My cousin had no understanding of what he was witnessing and what he was a part of. I'm not giving him an excuse. What I'm telling you is there are consequences when you allow a man to beat your ass. Lord, please help me. And you have kids that has to go through that. Because the same thing happened in my family. In my individual immediate family, I had to witness domestic abuse. My mom being abused by her significant others. It's not something I chose for myself. It's something I had to deal with. So I guess the moral of the story is that we should be very conscious of what we allow ourselves to go through as adults. And also, and more so, think about the effect that it's having on the kids that are witnessing the abuse. It's not like they go unscathed, that they're not a casualty of war. This affects them deeply. And it's something that some kids cannot get over, and Robert being one of them. He was always a jovial child, very mischievous as far as, being a boy. You know, it was a joy to be around Robert Atlas. Very smart, a very caring person. But he had this skeleton in the closet that he was exposed to, that was inflicted upon him, that he did not welcome. And as a yielding result, he became this monster. So I just wanted to share that with you folks, and let you know that Robert Atlas is not this bad person that is portrayed in Google and all the stories of Google. Um, he's just a victim. He's a victim. He watched his mom have this violence inflicted upon her in the family. And this is what yields. And I'm hoping that from this story, people will understand that this is not right. And that what you allow to happen in your lifetime has a yielding effect on the people that love you. So it's not all about you escaping from the situation. It's about you doing the best thing for the betterment of the family. You don't want your kids to end up like my cousin that's locked up for life for something he did not deserve. He did not deserve it. I'll be the first one to come on here and say he was wrong in this and that. He was wrong. But the scars, the battle wounds that comes behind domestic violence have no trajectory as far as an aim. It just comes out the way it comes out. And that's what it is. He's a victim just as much as anybody else is a victim of what they've witnessed. Our soldiers go over to Afghanistan and come back discombobulated, affected, mentally and physically. So the moral of this story is to be very aware of what you allow in your life to have an impact on your whole family in a negative way. It's not just you going through it, it's everybody's going through it.